Do I think
Here we go, guys.
Are we live?
I think we might be.
It says live.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a thing that says, yep, live on Facebook.
All right. Figure I'd use this music. There we go. All right. It is Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Welcome to This Fan View, another virtual edition. And we have with us special guest, Bill Mattis. Thanks for joining us, Bill.
Happy to be here. But wait one second. Hold on one second. Things aren't quite right. Let me do the big review.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Double thumbs up there. I'm ready.
Now you look at the part.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
All right. And we got people hopping on, so we are good. Let's get started. What do we got going on? What's everybody been doing for the past 5 days, I guess?
Well, for the past 5 minutes, I've been watching you just spin around in that chair. And
You're probably going to be doing that for the next hour, too.
So I'm going to get a gun and shoot that chair.
All right. I will sit
grab
still.
me
I will
and-
not move. How's that? Is that better?
It's all good.
I won't move.
So before we go, we jump on, give everybody a couple of minutes to sign on. I'm here in Glen Mills. Lauren's in Reading. I guess, Mario, you're still in Clifton Heights.
I'm still in Clifton.
John, you're still in Levittown.
Yep.
And Bill Mattis, you're in Drexel Hill.
I am.
We got it. We got it all covered.
Bill, you're close to me.
Sure.
Okay.
So close, but yet so far.
So far.
So I personally want to thank Bill for jumping on with us tonight. He's worn many hats.
And shirts.
Since I've known him. But I want to go back a little bit to the days, the 80s and dollar bills. Just give us a brief, just couple of minutes about how dollar bills got started and how you and Fran, monopolized the card world back then. And, just give us a couple minutes on that.
Well, I'd been a collector, and I guess I started doing my first show in 1979. What's now the Philly show was at that time in Willow Grove, and tables were $25 a piece. And I set up, and I think my total sales that day were $75, and I came home with 6 times what I had. That's kind of where it all started, and we got more and more into the business side of it after we got out of college and got married, and then decided to open up a shop. And the shop was located on State Road, just up the street from Bond Shopping Center. And it was a different world back then, even more different than it is today here. But cards were cards, and those were the main focus of the hobby, as opposed to, say, autographs and other stuff that's there now. And we kind of opened it up as a mom and pop shop type of thing, and Fran actually ran it more than I did. I had a kind of a real life job working at an insurance and investment company, and she was running the store pretty much full time. And it was something that we were just doing kind of on the side, and hoped that it would take off enough that we could do it full time. And then we wound up trying to do it full time, and we did that for a couple of years. This is all before computers really got into things here, and we didn't really have eBay, and we didn't have all those things that we're used to now, and so we did a lot of shows at those times. We used to go to Boston quite a bit. We used to go to Pittsburgh quite a bit, and it wasn't easy, but it was definitely a lot more fun than working a real job. And after a while, we just decided to pull it out of being retail and go and do it out of the house, kind of part time. Now to this day, we still have an eBay business that we work also.
What would other than the show and the idea of running a retail store? I mean, what was there some specifically that drove you to that? I mean, did you see like, the traditional sports card hobby per se? Is that something that you thought that, hey, this is for me, we can do this?
We had amassed so much stuff, and it was taking up so much room in our house. So we had like this little apartment, and rather than just going and get a place that to use for storage, we figured, why don't we just open up a shop? Tony Carafield had the only store in the area at that time.
Right. Tony and Rose.
Right in the middle of Drexel Hill. And, we weren't necessarily trying to compete with him. I figured if I'm going to just put it into a storage place, I might as well be open for business. So we did that. And kind of worked out because, then we could sell a lot of the local product here. And then when we went to Boston, we would sell the Boston stuff and buy Philadelphia. And then when we went to Pittsburgh, we'd buy Philadelphia and we'd bring it home and sell it at the store. And this is when all the rookie cards were really all the thing, and everybody was investing and they were buying 100-card lots. And that's kind of where we specialized. And, we would go out and buy 1,000 of a certain card at 25 cents and hope by 3 weeks later to sell them for $1 a piece, and then find the next card to buy for 25 cents to sell for $1 or $2. And that's kind of how that business was back in the day.
Have you had a chance to watch, what was the name of that show? Trader, Jack of All Trades. Have you had a chance to watch that?
I haven't. I saw you post about it, and I was wondering what you were talking about, but I have never seen it. No.
Yeah, it's interesting about the card world, and I mean it pretty much for him. He was a kid in probably in the 80s as well. More so through the 80s and 90s when the boom was there.
Right.
But it's pretty cool. I can relate to a lot of it. But I think we got Lauren. We got some questions for Bill Mattis.
Yeah, definitely.
Is this going to be from my mom?
Not yet, but I mean, we've got a lot of time. So
She's probably still trying to figure out how to get on. So I think I'm safe.
Bill, what card did you have that you wish you never sold? Does that even apply?
I don't really think it applies. I mean, I had like Schmidt rookies and things like that. At one point that was kind of like the prize of the collection type of thing. But we really didn't look at it. I have my own collection that I put stuff aside. I have signed Phillies cards. I've got signed Pitt cards. I've got University of Pittsburgh programs, things like that. Everything else, it can go. If somebody wants to buy it, we can sell it. But those are the things that I keep for myself, and that someday I'll give to Emma and Lizzie.
What's your most cherished item from your collection?
I have, you might be able to see it behind me. I have a full-size University of Pittsburgh helmet. I don't know if you can see it back there. Can you see it? And it's signed by about 12 or 14 University of Pitt stars, including a guy named Marshall Goldberg, who played for the team in the 30s and 40s. And I got a chance to meet Marshall in Chicago twice. He lived on a really expensive condominium. He lived at the top floor, and I got to meet with him and spend about an hour talking about Pitt history and Pitt football. And he was just great. And his daughter was so happy that somebody would come visit him that she was like, can we get you to come back again? And about a year later, he passed away, but he's on the helmet, and there's just not many of them out there at this point.
Oh, very cool.
I can appreciate that as a Penn Stater.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your most popular, or for you, the most popular athlete that you got to be around?
Well, if I don't say Matt Stairs or John Capelletti, I'm probably going to get in trouble. But
I was kind of setting you up for that.
Those guys obviously are the guys that I enjoy being around the most. Vince Papale is a great guy. Bobby Shantz, I love being around Bobby. But I would say John and Matt are two of the guys that I call really, really close friends. And, we talk time to time, just like, friends would. And it's not like, I had people in my past who have passed away, players, like a guy named Ronnie Kramer, who played for the Packers. he'd just call me once a week just to see how I was doing, things like that. Then there's other players who I represent that, all they cared about was the money, get in, get out as fast as they can, sign as little as they possibly can, and get as much money for it. And those are the kind of guys that I appreciate having them as a client, but I wouldn't really call them friends. But growing up, I would tell you that my favorite players were Pete Maravich was my favorite basketball player. Schmidt was my favorite baseball player. Bill Bradley was my favorite football player. And then Bobby Clark was my favorite hockey player. And having the ability to do signings with Carl and Bobby Clark and all the gang, every time I'm there, I'm just like, whoa, this is Bobby Clark. That's Bobby Clark.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be there a couple of times, and like I said, he's the most humblest superstar that you might know.
It's Bobby Clark. He's Bobby Clark. Okay, I mean, he is Flyers hockey. He is. Don't give me Lindros. Don't give me Briere. Don't give me anybody else. He's Bobby Clark. Bobby Clark is Flyers hocky, and Bernie Perron. I'll give you that too. But
Bobby's going to be on Friday night, right? You're going to have him on for us.
I don't think he could figure out. I don't think
you on the spot.
I don't think he could figure out the Zoom thing, but I don't know.
All right, so let's bring it back because I have a two-part question. Somebody's asking about the next Ron Hextall signing because you were one of the first to be able to lock him up and get all of us Philly dealers to be able to do something with Hexy because Hexy just fought it for forever. So give us that tape a little bit.
Well, I can get to him. My contact information for him was his Spectacor, Comcast Spectacor email address, which no longer exists. Go figure. So I haven't really had a chance to reach out, but the last time we were with Bob Clark, he said he has his cell phone number and he'd be happy to give it to me. So I'll have to get in touch. The guys in Pittsburgh, they were actually thinking about bringing him to their May show because they were going to try to bring his father, who Brian was a Penguin back in the 60s. And talk about some cool stories. I mean, Dennis Herron, who was a goalie for the Penguins, said, back in the day when he was playing for them and Brian Hextall was on the team, after practice, this kid would come skating out and shoot on him and, put a few past him. And it was this little kid named Ronnie Hextall. There's just really cool stuff in sports like that. And Ronnie certainly would be great to have back here. I think he's on the West Coast now, though, but I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, I believe he is as well. He was scouting before the shutdown. He was scouting, I believe, for the Kings again.
Oh, okay.
But I guess you didn't get the last email. There's way too much Pit talk, and there's way too much Penguin talk. So both of those have to stop. So going forward, that's.
Can I get in the way of the helmet? Can I get in the way of the helmet?
They're perfect. Perfect. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
We've got someone asking how long you and Bill have known each other.
We tried to figure that out because we go back and look at pictures and trying to figure out who the first signing we had was. And I keep thinking it was either Hornung or Sayers or McCoy. I'm not sure if it was LaShawn. It was all back in that whole era when McCoy got drafted. And at the time I started working with Gale Sayers and Paul Hornung. I think it was those three, one of those three, but I can't be positive.
So
there's some pictures where I actually have a lot more brown hair. So that has to be 10 or 15 years ago.
So the Hornung story is great, how you became involved with him. Why don't you give everybody an idea of how that all came to be?
I was working for another company, guys that I went to high school with, Mainline Autographs, and I left that company. But what I had been doing for them was setting up private signings, autograph signings with different athletes. And one of the guys who I had done that with was Paul Hornung. And Paul had said to me at the time, hey, if you've ever got anything left or else for me, let me know. My wife said if I didn't get back to you, she'd kill me because she went to Archbishop Prendergast High School right around the corner from me. And we come to Philadelphia every once in a while. And I said, okay, well, let me see what I can do. So next thing you know, I'm not working for Mainline anymore. I get a call about somebody who wants him in Harrisburg, and it was for a private signing. So I called him up, and I said, hey, you said to call, so I'm calling. And I got the deal made together, and he flew into Philadelphia, and I got a rental car. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get a rental car. This is going to really impress him. So I get this PT Cruiser, 6'5", 300 pounds of Paul Hornung. I'm trying to stuff into the front seat and close the door real quick before he falls in. So we drive all the way out to Harrisburg, and the deal goes great. He's really ecstatic about everything. We get back in the car. We come back to Philadelphia. He goes, look, Mattis, you're going to handle everything from now on. Okay, you're going to do everything. I'm going to be writing books. I'm going to be doing this. And by the way, I got another guy you need to work with too. Hold on 1 second. Gets on the phone. He's like, hey, it's me. It's Hornung. Yeah, I got this guy named Bill Mattis. Never to this day does he ever call me Mattis. It was always Mattis. This guy, Bill Mattis, he's going to handle all my stuff. He should have you handle him too. Here, hold on. Say hello. It's Gail Sayers. I'm like, driving on the turnpike. I'm like, hello, Mr. Sayers? And he's like, call me Monday. Call me Monday. I'm like, okay, great. So I called him Monday, and next thing you know, I'm working with Gail Sayers too. And that's how it all started. And at that point, we started contacting a lot of players saying, hey, I represent Gail Sayers and Paul Hornung. Can I represent you too? And they were like, well, sure, if you're going to represent those guys. And that kind of built the whole business book up.
Sweet. Very cool.
That's very interesting.
Lauren, anyone else?
Yeah, we
Just
got-
I was wondering how Bill got into sort of the promotion of players, player agent realm, but I mean, a lot of that was kind of answered there. But how did you get, I guess, to mainline?
Well, Jim and Mike are longtime friends. They're basically family to us, much like you guys are. I grew up with them. Well, I shouldn't say I grew up with them. I went to Radnor High School in 10th grade, and Jim was 1 year before me, and Mike was 1 year ahead of me. And we all played football together. And at that time, they were like the only friends I knew that were collecting cards. And so that's how we got to be common friends. And at that point, we started to work together a lot and see each other at shows. And it just grew into a relationship where I was doing a lot of stuff on the side for them while I was working a real job. And then finally, they just said, well, why don't we just hire you? And that's what they did. So I worked there for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And then we just decided to part ways. And I started doing a lot of things I was doing for them, for myself. And it was tough at times. And every 4 or 5 years, I have to go back and get a real job again because we were broke. But that's the way this business works. And, you know, with the appearance business, everybody thinks it's great because I get to sit there with, you know, Matt Stairs or John Capelletti or Paul Hornung, and I'm like celebrity status with those guys. They don't understand that sometimes these shows don't happen for 3 months, and you get 1 or 2 appearances every 2 or 3 months doesn't pay the bills. So you got to find other things to do, and it can be very difficult sometimes, especially when you have difficult players. You know, Matt and John and some of the other guys we just talked about, Vince, you know, they're a dream to work with. But I've had people that are just a nightmare. And then people call me and go, hey, we want to book this guy. I'll be like, nah, you really don't. You really don't want to book this guy. Because, you know, he's a pain in the neck. And anyway, you take the good, you take the bad, you make the best out of it.
Pretty much.
You know, one of the things I want to say, but before we, not to cut you guys off, you know, one of the greatest things, in addition to having the relationship with all the different players and having, you know, been blessed with that opportunity, because it really is cool. And I still haven't gotten jaded to the point where I don't appreciate that. But the best part about what I do is that when I'm at Carl's place, or when I'm down in Chantilly at a show, or when I'm walking the Philadelphia show, when I go from one room to the other, I get stopped 4 or 5 times by people who genuinely want to say hello. They want to know how our family's doing. They want to know, you know, how I'm doing. And, you know, they actually like me, you know, and appreciate what I've done for them in my past. And to have that many friends and relationships that have been built. And I got to tell you, there's sometimes I get stopped by people, I have no idea who they are. But I just have crossed paths with them at some point. And they're very nice to come up to me and say hello and ask how we're doing.
So, Bill, we're
course.
getting a lot of questions about who was the most difficult person to work with.
Yep.
It's got to be Paul. Hornung would want to do anything that I could get my hands on for any price possible. And then when we get there, it was like a roller coaster. We go up the roller coaster. Everything would be really, really great in the beginning. You know, we'd already stopped for breakfast and he'd already had 6 eggs and, you know, half of them were down in front of him. And, you know, everything would be fine. But then somebody would bring that stack of 50 jerseys in front of him. And he'd say, how much are we getting paid for these? And I'd be like, the same as we got last week. And he'd be like, how much is it? It's $20 a piece or $25. We need to get 50. And I'd be like, Paul, you can't get 50. Nobody's going to pay 50 at this point. You've been everywhere. I couldn't. He couldn't understand the marketing and the economics of the whole supply and demand thing. And you know, at that point, every once in a while, he just put the pen down and go, I'm done. I go, well, then if you're done, you've only done X number of dollars, and that's all you're going to get. He goes, no, I'm supposed to get this much. And I'd be like, you're not going to get that much if you don't sign more up. It's a perfect freedom thing. And at some point, he would just go silent, and he'd just sign away and not say a word, observing what else was going on in the room. And then by the end of the day, he was fine again. Like I said, it was a roller coaster. And then he just loved getting paid. And then we're leaving after he got paid, he was the happiest person, nicest guy in the world. He just kind of
Who doesn't enjoy getting paid?
But he was very difficult. And especially at the end when I was working with him, his autograph had got very, very shaky. And, you know, that was his autograph. And so the people who were hiring him to do the appearance were taking the helmets to me and going, look at what we're getting. I'm like, hey, what do you want me to do? Sign it for him? I can't sign it for him. So, you know, we had to try to figure out ways of doing the flat items first so that, you know, make sure he didn't have too much coffee early in the morning and things like that, just to try to get through these appearances. But ultimately, that's kind of why we're not working together anymore. He's still done a couple shows here and there, but he really shouldn't be. His health is not the greatest. And his wife, Angela, who's absolute saint, you know, she basically said to me, I really don't want him doing any more shows. So for me to book him, I felt like I was doing something that she didn't want to. So I basically stopped booking because of that.
So somebody had asked a question, and I think it's actually pretty relevant. With everything that's going on now, do you think people will be moving more towards private signings?
Well, I guess that remains to be seen. I already had a call today. A dealer in Boston was asking about Lenny Moore and saying, if I was to drive down there tomorrow, do you think we could do it? I'm like, are you out of your mind? You know, I think a lot of people don't really understand what's going on out there and where we're going to be 30 days or 60 days or 90 days from now. I guess to answer your question, I think shows will continue to go on. You know, the problem with private signings is that from a player's standpoint, you can't get as much per autograph. And from a dealer's perspective, the dealer gets more by being able to sell to the public to defer part of his cost to the player. And, you know, privates are great. It's just that then you got to sell the stuff. And it's tough a lot of times for dealers just to do privates. But I think ultimately we'll get back to shows once the convention centers become not hospitals anymore. That'll be an issue. But I think you'll see both going on. I think it'll be life as usual at some point. I just don't know when that point is.
Right.
John O'Brien, you got an announcement? You got something to talk about?
Do I have an announcement? Well, we got Eagles news. We're still a lot of talks for maybe Yannick and Goke from the Jaguars, maybe. Are you
happy this week, or I can't gauge you.
There's no baseball, so I'm sure he's not happy.
I'm definitely not happy about that. No.
Right. The Eagles moves, however, are we good with those? Bad with those?
I still don't like that we're almost $28 million still under the cap, and we're not going out for anybody.
Okay.
So
Well, at this point, we really don't know what's going to happen. So
yeah, but a lot of the big names, free agent wise, is already taken up. So
right.
you got $28 million on the cap. That's how he's MO. He makes Jeff Lurie a lot of money by keeping him under the cap, and it makes them, they think that they're pushing their limits and going all in, but we're really not.
Wait, it sounds like a rerun. I heard this during the Phillies season. Stop for a minute. Stop.
Well,
Time out.
Well, I mean, Lauren will like this. Lauren will like this good news though, because their talks now are that KJ Hammer's the guy that the Eagles are interested in.
Say?
So.
Hey, listen, I gotta say something about John. I come to the store and I see John, and John's mild-mannered. He's very quiet. He speaks when spoken to.
Here's where we lose the show.
And then I read some of the posts that he has on Facebook about the Sixers management not stepping up and why Gabe Kapler should go on a boat somewhere to wherever. And I'm just going, wait a second. Is this our John? Is this our John? The guy that looks like Matt Stairs? John? Is that John?
There's two Johns.
You don't want to get on the bad side of me. That's just puts you that way.
Yeah, but see, you don't have a bad side of you in person.
Oh no, I will if it comes to it. I just ask Mr. Middleton. I almost got thrown out of the stadium on May 4th when Jimmy Rollins got retired.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah, well, I told him Kapler had to be fired, and he laughed at me, and he said, I disagree. And he gave me a stare, a death stare. And he still remembered it when I talked to him in spring training.
Yeah, as a coach, I get the one more word and you're gone. That's probably what you were getting.
But you have to, I don't know, I just, when you're passionate with sports, you have to, go in. It's just, I don't like we're doing all we can, but we're not. When they're saying that they're doing it, but the actions aren't matching up.
So actions don't
like
mean
somebody else has to be writing that stuff because it can't possibly be John.
Oh no, it's me.
Oh, it's John.
Oh, it's definitely John.
Lauren sees the fat finger comment.
He just needs an editor is the problem.
Yeah, he does have a few run-on sentences here and there, and
once I get
Listen, editing his blog posts after the Philly spring training. I mean, that might be the silver lining. And I was really, it was miles and miles of text. John, we get it. We get it.
I didn't realize text messages actually run out. That's how long they were.
Yeah, no one else would ever be able to find that out except him.
has he learned how to do speak to text? Because that could be really a problem.
Oh God, no.
Don't show him that picture. We're good.
No.
We're
No.
good.
No, I get the fat fingers going quick, and when they get going, but sometimes they hit the wrong buttons. But it's just.
So what's going on with
Speaking of Matt Stairs, we're giving away a Matt Stairs autographed jersey tonight. It would have probably been a little bit more appropriate to give it away last Friday night, but we gave out a pretty cool Scott Kingery autograph bat that Wally Pope from Delaware City, Delaware won. So we'll be giving away the Stairs jersey tonight. So the more comments, questions, and crap that you guys throw online to us, feel free. Let John have it. Let Mario have it. Be nice to Bill. Bill's our guest. We want to have him. We want to have him back. So we're going to extend courtesy to Bill Mattis.
I can't believe nobody said anything about my beard yet. I mean, is it that bad that you can't?
No, you can't really see because it's white like mine.
Yeah. All I need is one female to say it looks horrible, and I'm done with it. I gotta go. Actually, if they say it makes me look older, forget it. I'm gonna run to the bathroom right then.
Lauren, don't say anything until after the show. Then.
So we do have a lot of requests for guests to come to the store for a signing, Carl. You have to look through and see. I did see Jim McMahon, Gary Maddox.
I could almost name the people that are asking for those players.
Oh, I'm sure you
This
can.
is a fun game. Go ahead. No.
Where do you want to start? Jim McMahon. Let's start with Jim McMahon.
All right. Well,
Right.
wait. Okay. Go. Well, first, actually, do Gary Maddox first.
Brian Brown.
No.
You're not gonna. No.
No. It's a name I've never seen before.
Same.
Do Jim McMahon.
Jack Broder.
You are
Oh,
correct.
that one you got. All right.
Yeah.
Hey,
That was-
you only threw two at me, and I'm do you see what I put up with, Bill Mattis? Bill
I'm trying to
Mattis.
scroll through the other ones to see who else is there.
Someone's requesting another private signing with Bob Clark.
Well, we had one set up or tentatively, and then all heck broke loose, and that wound up going down the drain. So,
Bill,
So
how many,
Yes.
Bill, how many do you think
Someone
that
is
we've had?
asking.
We've had quite a few with Bobby.
Mhm.
you got to be over 20, right?
Oh, that 1 year alone we had 5.
Yeah, I think we're over 20. I would say so. 20, 25.
100%.
He's probably the coolest, most humble individual that I've ever worked with.
Oh my God! So now all the requests are coming in.
Yes, they are piling in. Someone
So
would like
Rick-
Chase Utley.
Rich
I'm on
Gannon,
board.
Chase
I'm on board
Utley.
with the Undertaker. I'd love to have the Undertaker.
Someone asked for Bake McBride. Dad, would you like to field that one? Or are you,
I
going to pass on that?
That's the only guy that Steve got into a brutal argument with.
Right.
was Bake McBride. Him and Bake just did not hit it off. And Steve is probably the quietest guy on earth. And for whatever reason, Bake just told him to shut up and sit there.
That's actually pretty funny.
He was horrible. He was mean. So, besides, I think somebody just did a private signing with Bake McBride, if I'm not mistaken. So, but let's get current with our guests, Bill Mattis. So, what are you doing these days? Well, not like particularly now, but leading up to it. What were you doing? What have you been doing?
Well, about 2.5, 3 years ago, my son passed away. And at that point, a friend of mine had come to me and said, I got a job for you that's kind of crappy. It's really boring, but it's right up your alley. And, I think you can do it and it would keep you busy. So he explained to me that I just had to go into the city and run this Lids locker room. You go in 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 o'clock, you're out by 3, you come home, you do 30 hours a week. Not a big thing. You open some boxes, maybe you wait on a couple people, do $300 a day in sales. It'll keep you busy. And so my family was like, do it, because you can't just sit around and cry all day. So I went ahead and started in October, I guess it was, of 2.5 years ago. And that was the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So by the time January came along, those $300 days were 10,000. 15,000, 20,000, to the point where the day before the Super Bowl, we did $30,000 worth of business in that little tiny store down in Macy's. And then the day of the Super Bowl, we did 30,000. The day after the Super Bowl, we did 50,000. The day after that, we did 60,000. Those 30 hours I was talking about, 10 to 3, became 78 hours a week for like 3 straight weeks. Now, all that being said, the bonus made it worth it. So I was very happy to get the bonus. But here's a guy that's been in the business now for 3.5 months, and I got thrown into this thing. But I really wish we could do it again, because that's really what makes it all worthwhile. Otherwise, you do just sit around twiddling your thumbs, playing on your phone. One customer comes in, and it's a very different demographic down there at the Macy's store right across from City Hall, because we get a lot of tourists. And so when all this stuff was really starting to kick in, down there where the tourists are going around, and you're thinking, oh boy, these are people not only from inside our country, but they're from other countries all the time coming in. And we're hearing about all this coronavirus coming in. I think we were probably as much at risk as anybody, especially since I take the subway and a bus to get there with thousands of my closest friends. But for after 2.5 years, we've established the store to be one of the top 3 in the country. It's us, New York, and Boston, really. And prior to me getting there, and prior to the Eagles Super Bowl, our store wasn't even on the map. I mean, we didn't even have anybody manning the store on Tuesdays because there just wasn't enough business. So pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish. I've left twice. I've tried to get out of there, and they just keep bringing me back. But in the meantime, I do the appearance business, and then I also have an eBay business that Fran and I run together. And we try our best to keep our heads above water. Up until just this past month, my granddaughters and daughter-in-law live with us. She just moved out last month, and they have a place in Drexel Hill, just about a mile away. And we get the girls almost every day anyway, so it's just that they're not sleeping here very often. But, it's been a struggle. And, it's something that I'm glad I got into in the long run. I just wish we could make more money doing the things that we have fun doing so that I didn't have to do that. That's what I've been doing. Now, as far as what I've been doing since the coronavirus hit, I've been doing a lot of sleeping. I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is try to figure out when I'm going to take my first nap. My mom makes me breakfast, like 3 eggs, toast, bacon every day. And then I have lunch, and then maybe I do some work on eBay, and then maybe I take a nap, and then I'll go and maybe take the dogs. But so much rain lately. We sometimes take the dogs up to Dermont and let them run, the puppies. And Christine will come over with her dog, and they'll run and that kind of thing. And that's pretty much my day, other than working on eBay and trying to get as much stuff on eBay as we can.
Dermont, is that Nelson's Track?
I'm not sure.
Right by Bryan Street?
One block off a township line. Behind. Yeah.
So one of our friends, Shawnee out of Delaware, is asking if you're still involved with Legion. That give us the backstory on that, because that's a pretty good story in itself.
Well, my daughter has had and she'll admit it, she's had a constant battle with weight, even since she was in high school. She played soccer, she was a goalie, and then she played softball, she was a pitcher, and it was always that 3-month period where the holidays were and she wasn't active that she would wind up putting weight on. And that still comes true today. And finally she said to me, look, I can't do Legion without you. And Legion is it's a high energy aerobic type workout that's 50 minutes of high intensity stuff, not necessarily stuff that like weights and stuff like that, but a lot of push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks and things like that are constantly going. And I made the dedication to work with her to help her lose the weight, because if I don't go, she doesn't go. She stays home. But if I go, then she feels guilty if she doesn't go. So I went in with her and did it for the first time, and she lost like 30 or 40 pounds over I guess it was about a 2-month period, and I lost about 15 myself. And I didn't change my diet at all. I continued to drink beer. It was just the activity that was able to make my metabolism go a little faster and make me lose the weight. And since that time, I had been maintaining it. And I've gone back every once in a while just to kind of help her out again. But since this whole thing has happened, the inactivity, I don't know about you guys, but I've probably put on about 7 or 8 pounds in 2 weeks. So I'm going to have to make the commitment to at least do something, whether it's a push-up or a sit-up or something.
Are you still in full support of them Budweisers?
Absolutely. In fact, Budweiser sends me a Christmas card every year because of how much money I spend with them.
In all seriousness, you got better stories than Matt Stairs. How about that?
Yeah, I could see that. That's not what we call an electric personality either. I mean, he's a good guy and he can be funny at times, but I wouldn't call him electric. He's a Canadian. Come on.
We heard that a few times the other night. Yeah. Yeah, I think Mario even asked him if he was from Toronto. That really lit a fuse.
Yeah.
He actually loves Toronto, though. He does love Toronto.
Yeah.
I just like pushing his buttons.
Hey, so I see a couple people on board from PJ Willihan's. Anne Marie was our server. Matt Welsh was
Saw Matt. I saw
part
Anna.
of our connection there, and I was hoping a couple of our new friends at Buffalo Wild Wings would have joined us tonight, because I'm still trying to get that key so we can slip in the back door while nobody's there. You know, I think that would be ideal to be able to drain off the kegs and keep the lines clean. What do you think, Bill? Isn't that a great idea?
Well, I'll be sure to make sure that golden tea machine is working as well.
Well, that also, right?
We'll clean up.
Someone to do the job. It's not an easy job to do, but somebody's got to do it.
No, it's not.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
You know, I think I could, you know, as long as we sit 6 feet apart, you know, we're good, right?
We're good, right? Anna said she misses us, Carl.
No, we miss that place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do.
We miss that place, and I know Matt Welsh is going to do his best to get us back in there. So,
Well, Matt's up at the poorhouse now.
I know, but he's still got connections.
He does. He does. We'll talk after all this is over.
Lauren, what do we got?
Well, folks are interested in more stories from Bill. I mean, who wouldn't they? But I guess folks are interested, Dad, in who your best and worst autograph signings have been at the store, autograph guests. So that would be interesting, especially if it ties in to, I don't know that it's anyone that Bill would have brought us.
Well, he was heavily connected because it was Bill. Do you remember Drew Rosenhaus and LaShawn McCoy? Huh?
No,
I'm
I've
still-
never heard of them.
I'm still banging my head against the wall over that one.
LaShawn was good. It was the red tape that we had to get through to get LaShawn, and then I think Drew was who we worked with to get Deshaun, right?
Deshaun, yeah, that's who I meant. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, LaShawn was good.
LaShawn was very good once we got him out of the away from his friends.
And we'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'll leave that for the imagination.
You know, it was interesting. I've been paying attention to your Field of 64, and I'm wondering if
Thank you.
people understand the whole idea of what they're voting for, because
No,
you're not supposed to
100%
vote-
they don't understand at all.
Yeah, I think that they're not supposed to vote for the more famous player. They're supposed
Right.
to vote for the player who was the greatest guest. And so I'm looking at some of the matchups. I'm like, oh, well, there's no way this guy can lose. And then I hit the button, and I'm like, 28%. How is it possible?
I also
So-
find it fascinating that they won't vote for someone who didn't play in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not like, I don't think one non-Philadelphia player has made it to the next round.
Ah.
Maybe Gordie Howe is the only one.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say Gordie Howe was the one. Yeah.
Well, I
But
was trying to
otherwise,
count. I was trying to count how many of the 64 I've been associated with. I didn't necessarily bring them, but I might have had a hand in it. And I think I had about 25. I think I had about 20 or 25.
At least. At least.
How about that Chuck Bednarik?
Ah, the best. The best.
Did you have him when he started? Did you ever have him when he started speaking Polish to people really loudly and yelling at them? Did you ever have that?
Early on, yes.
Okay.
Early on, yeah.
It got worse.
Yep, for sure.
so
We got a couple
Going
people
with-
saying Gordie.
yeah. Are we really going with LaShawn McCoy as our worst one?
No, it's Deshaun
No,
Jackson.
Sean
Oh,
Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun
Okay.
Jackson.
That was our worst one.
Well, only because he was rude, he was ignorant. The whole.
He wasn't rude. He just didn't say anything.
Well,
Well, he had just come off a concussion.
True.
that was the excuse.
You know what? And not to defend Deshaun because he doesn't need me to defend him, but I had done 2 other deals with him. One, of course, was a private signing, which he really enjoyed because he didn't have to see anybody. But in both of the other cases, he was great. I don't know. Maybe the concussion was a play. Didn't you have a bad time with Dykstra?
I was just
Well,
Oh my Don't
Back
even.
up, back up, because the Deshaun
Steve Harris is
Jackson
screaming.
on January 1st, we did a private signing over in a hotel in South Jersey, and it was like two different people.
Well, there were bowl games going on. He was watching Cal was playing in a bowl game.
He actually called me by my right name. I mean, it was no, seriously. I thought they were two different people. Honestly. But yeah, Lenny Dykstra. Oh, we need a whole show to talk about that one.
Steve Harris is still pulling his hair out.
That one's got to be your worst.
I think Steve Harris has the audio from the phone conversations that Lenny had with people in the car when he was driving them back from Atlantic City. We need to hijack Steve Harris's phone. Yeah, that was a classic. I'll come to the store, but you got to send a car for me 5 hours later.
Right.
Jesus. So a lot of people are bringing up the one that never showed up.
Well, we had a couple of those, but I'll be honest.
Joe Bradham.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what have we had in 25 years? 1,000 autograph guests,
At least.
right?
Yeah.
How many do they remember? The two that didn't show up. Is it great? Don Brown. Well, Don Brown got canceled by his dad.
Right.
that
That's
never
the
even
one that they're
happened.
bringing up. That's the one to bring it up.
Yeah, there was an Eagle player, linebacker Adams, that we were trying to bring in, and then Bradham. That Lauren, I'll let you take over from there.
Oh. The day I got the notification that he wasn't on the Eagles anymore, bye-bye. See ya.
You weren't broken up about it.
No, not at all. Doesn't show up because he has an emergency team meeting.
And what does all this have in common? What is the agent's name?
Oh,
Uh,
not Bill.
No,
Bill.
the representative Drew Rosenhaus.
yeah.
You know,
Show me the money.
Anyways.
you've brokered and built a lot of deals for us, and trust me, it'll moving forward. It will absolutely continue because we're just, we're on the same page. There's no
One of the problems that a lot of the guys that do what I do or do what Drew does, which is a whole nother level, is that they're only concerned with the well-being of the player. They believe they represent the player. But when you book a deal with a business or a person, you're booking it on behalf of both. And you got to make sure that when the end of the day happens, both people are walking away going, you know what, that was pretty good. And when you do that, you're successful. And that's what I try to do at all times. Doesn't always work out that way, but I try. And, if I can see that it's going poorly, I try to step in, but a lot of times I just try to stay away and let it go happen. And if there's an issue, I'll come back in and say what's going on. But over the years, I've learned, in the beginning, I was a little bit more high maintenance and a lot more hands-on. Whereas as I've gotten older and more experienced, I've learned that, hey, you're signing your name, big guy. Okay, you're signing your name. You're getting paid to do it. What does it matter if there's a few extras involved? Come on. These guys are actually paying rent and trying to get by every day while you're collecting $1 million a year. What's the big deal? And I've said that to players, and they're going, "You're right."
John O'Brien, you've been awfully quiet tonight.
Oh, we got a great guest here. He's telling a lot of good stories. You got to enjoy them. Sit back and listen to them.
Hey, if my wife's watching, I'm out of Diet Pepsi. Can we get another one? Of course, she's probably watching Wheel of Fortune at this point because that's more important.
We could do one of those. We could do one of those videos and hand it off and get it.
Did my mom figure it out yet? Can you see
Yep,
who's watching?
She's on. She's on. Mama Jill's on.
All right. Well, can she please text Fran from the basement? My mom's in the basement. You can text Fran on the ground floor and have him bring me a Diet Pepsi. Actually, at this point, make it a bud.
I'm just waiting for that door to open up, and then I'm going to see a flying Pepsi can coming right in the back.
Well, I'll tell you, if that door does open up, there might be two dogs with the whole thing too. If they come barreling in, you may lose me at that point. I hear somebody coming up the steps.
Uh-oh.
You might be in trouble.
So should we go silent and wait, or talk our way through this?
Hey.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
Nervous. With a smile, too.
Hey, it's strange she didn't want to say anything. Oh, now my mom's coming up with one, too. Come on in, Mom. There.
Oh, God.
I have to look at my phone because I get hollered at all the time. But
Look, hey.
It's not Hershey beer, but it's Pepsi.
close enough. Hey, here's a great comment. Bill Mattis, here's a great comment from a Michael Taylor. Notice these troubled clients aren't hockey players. Has to be the sport with the most grounded guys.
Yeah, you know what? I don't deal with a lot of hockey players, but the ones that I have been fantastic. Like Marcel Dion, Bernie Perrant, the guys that we've had out in Pittsburgh, the goalies, Michel Dion as opposed to Marcel, Dennis Huron, Reggie Leach's son, Jamie.
Dave
I'm just trying
Schultz.
to think of guys that off the top of my head. They've all been fantastic. They've all been great.
Very cool. Very cool.
That
So
Canadian.
we talked about who our least favorite guy was at the store. Who was our favorite?
I have one.
Well, again, it's going to be hockey because.
Oh, no. Number 12 watches.
Is he watching?
I'm sure he is.
Not at the moment. He's not. But
He's
Careful.
cool. But he's hockey baseball or baseball hockey. So, but putting the LCB line together at the store, that was very cool. For me personally, Gordie Howe coming to the store with it, and his son Mark brought him. Bernie Perrant's probably my all-time number one.
I would think so. Yeah, when I saw the matchings come up, I saw somebody else say it too in a comment. You might as well just shut it down right now because Bernie Perrant's going to win it all. And I thought he's right. He's right.
yeah,
Especially if you count how many times he's actually done an appearance with you, Carl. How many times do you think Bernie's been there?
As many times as Clark.
Wait, but Bernie's were all publics. Well, not even. There were some privates in there too.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so hockey aside, who else? No hockey guys. How about baseball?
Not a hockey guy. Jason Kelsey,
somebody just said that. Yeah,
Super Bowl, 1,000
Okay.
people, 1,000 people in Havertown,
Yep.
shut down Eagle Road. I don't know. JT Realmuto last summer was an awesome guy. It was great to work with him. I'm
Have you ever had a line around the block like you did for Cliff Lee?
Hunter Pence.
Cliff Lee times 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did it twice.
Yep.
Lines both times.
Well, he's only got 8 letters in his name total. So I mean,
And he only gives you 3.
right?
That is accurate.
My definition of a good guest, and the thing that impresses me the most when I'm sitting with a player or when I'm watching one of my guys actually signing, there's certain guys who kind of want to get through the line as fast as possible, but there's other guys who engage every single customer. And I'll give you an example. One of those guys is Vince Papale. Vince has something to say to every single person that comes through the door. It could be something in their hat. It could be a shirt that they're wearing. Hey, how long have you been out there in line today? And the interaction leads him into the conversation, and it's personalized. It's not like he's just reading from a script.
Mhm.
And I've seen other guys kind of do that. How you doing today? Thanks for coming out. Thanks for saying thank you for coming. And as they're leaving, do Do you need to get a picture? Vince is the one that invites people behind the table to take the picture. And I'm going, Vince, stop that. Can you just have them lean in instead? Because it'll make the line a little bit. We got to get out of here. We got the time deal. So, but that's to me the definition of a great guest. Now, in the case of like a Cliff Lee, when you had to sign 700 autographs in 2 hours or whatever it was, we really don't have time for that. And sometimes that takes away from the quality of the appearance, I guess. And so it's kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't. But, LaShawn McCoy, when he first did a couple appearances at your place, Carl, you were one of the first people to have him out of college. And he was that way. He would ask somebody about their hat or their shirt, and he would interact with them and want to talk to them and ask them their names and things like that. And I haven't been with LaShawn for a while. I saw him a couple of years ago in Chicago, and actually I saw him in Chantilly a little bit ago, and he was real close with Will. And so when he found out about Will, he actually was crying when he found out about Will. And I know LaShawn is a good guy. I think the fact that he had representation that was kind of over his shoulder all the time made it rough for him. But I think he was also a really good, high quality guest, especially considering he was a new player to the team, and you guys got one of the first deals in the city and that kind of stuff. That was always a good thing to have.
Well, let me ask you: do the Eagles bring him back? Do they re-sign him?
I think the answer probably is about how much money it's going to cost. I mean, if he's willing to take a very big pay cut to be a secondary player, because certainly he's not going to be an every down back. We know that. Right. He's going to be a maybe even a third on the depth chart. So you can't pay a guy $5 million a year to be third on the depth chart. You can't have a third down back you paid $5 to $10 million. But if he wanted to do something for like $2 million, he's not gonna. He's gonna get a job somewhere from somebody that's gonna pay him somewhere from $5 to $10 million, I would guess. But that's just.
You really think he's going to command that kind of money now?
I don't know. I mean, it'll be a 1-year deal, I'm sure. And maybe not have a whole lot of it be guaranteed in case he doesn't make the team. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
I mean, I'd love a lot with Kansas City last year, so.
Right.
Yeah,
I'd love to see him come back. I mean, that would be kind of cool, and I think he would like that. I saw him in Chicago a week after the Eagles had traded him, and I saw him from across the room, and he saw me, and he literally dropped the pen and the mini helmet that he was signing, said, "I'll be right back," and came over, gave me a big hug. I said, "Dude, what the heck? What Buffalo?" And he's like, "I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. And I don't know why it happened, but I didn't see it coming. And now I'm in Buffalo." And I'm like, something had to happen. And that was when he was having issues off the field in the bars, and his help was getting in trouble. And that's how I think he got traded. But what do I know?
That and Chip Kelly.
Well, that's it. He didn't fit that in.
Mario, what do you got? You got anything?
No. So Joe Stringer wants to know who was the one that went out to sign. Somebody was in a wheelchair outside, couldn't get in the store. Was that Vince?
It was
We
Vince.
had that a few times.
We had a few guys. That particular gentleman had ALS and wasn't able to get into the store.
I do remember that.
We had Vince go out. I think John Capelletti went out.
Andre Lacroix went out to meet somebody.
Yeah, we've had a few guys go out to him, and anybody, because our store unfortunately isn't handicap accessible. So, but I make it a point that if we need to, we will.
Right.
Yeah, we've had a few guys. I know another particular gentleman that had to meet John Capelletti was Bill Lewis, who's a big Penn State guy, and had to get that in there. It was enough. I had to smother that a little bit.
John, I just spoke with John. After the show, I got to send you a couple pictures. All right, I'll tell the story. So I'm up in my attic today because I got nothing else better to do, going through cards, right? And every time I come across cards of guys that we see either at shows or in appearances and stuff, I put them aside. So I'm going through these cards, and they were the nondescript Fleer football cards. You know what I'm talking about, Carl? That they didn't have the license to be able to put the names on the cards of the players, but they had the NFL license. So they're like all in-action cards.
Really?
And they had 2 years worth of sets. So I'm going through and I'm like trying to recognize somebody like a Walter Payton or somebody. Vince Papale's in one of them, and I knew that. But I didn't know who else might be in there. So I'm looking, I'm like, get to the Rams. I'm like, wait a second. Who's this guy? And I'm like, who's that guy playing fullback, number 22?
Wow.
So I took a picture of it and I sent it to Cappy. And I said, have you ever seen this card before? And he's like, I've never seen it, but that's me. And there was two of them. There's two different. He's leading a sweep as the blocking back on the other one. And I was just like, how about that? You know, how many years have I been doing this? And that card was from, I think, from like 78. So that card's 42 years old, and I hadn't seen it until today.
Wow.
And he hadn't seen it.
Very cool. John doing well, is he?
Yeah, he was in his pajamas. This was like 3 hours ago. His quote to me that was really great was, he's like, this is nothing new for me. I'm a shut-in, man. I don't go anywhere anyway. This is normal for me. I'm fine. So, yeah.
Very cool. Lauren, anything else on the board? Anything we need to cover?
Not that I'm seeing. No, I mean, people certainly love Bill's stories.
Yeah,
Hey,
I knew.
They are good.
I knew a lot of people know of Bill. They know Bill. They recognize him, other locations. And, you know, they'll come in the store and they'll be like, I saw that guy. You know, that guy that stands back there, you know, during your signings. You know, that guy. I'm like, Bill Mattis, right? It's Bill Mattis, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, he's very recognizable. He does a lot of work, you know, in the hobby. He's been a friend of ours. Friend of the family. I mean, he was a great guest tonight. I enjoyed this hour absolutely the best. I mean, the stories were fantastic.
But I heard the name Joe Stinger come up earlier. Is that Joe Stinger, the Hall of Famer? The
Yes.
Carl Card Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, for sure.
I think that might be the next thing we got to do, Carl. We got to start a Carl's Cards Hall of Fame.
Well, we have one. It's kind of been put on the hold for a couple of years because we lost a couple of members of it that passed away, and we kind of, you know, heartfelt, kind of just got away from it. But Lauren, so we got another special show coming up Friday night.
We do, yes.
You want to make that
Folks.
announcement? You want to let them? You want to give it out?
No, I won't take this glory away from you.
How about Jack Broder? How about we let Jack Broder announce it? Would that be a dead giveaway?
Possibly.
Wheelcheck's coming on the show? I didn't realize that. Why'd you tell me?
No, it's one better. Brian Prop, Gafal will join us Friday night.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
good.
we got a Friday night special edition, Friday night with Gafal. So we're really looking forward to that one as well. So
Is
Right.
actually joining as well? Because I have concerns about that.
say that again.
Is Jack actually joining as well?
I have extended an invitation. Yes.
Because that'd be interesting. I mean, it'll just be the Jack and Brian Prop show.
Hey, that's easy for us.
I'll just set up the Zoom and I'll.
I'll make sure I bring a refrigerator up here.
Yep.
So you didn't send your lackey for another drink tonight? I didn't see him.
No, not yet. I can't become an alcoholic. I have to monitor these things. Well, we did get pizza halfway through, but I was told I wasn't allowed to eat it because that would be rude. So,
not professional.
you know.
Drinking on the show is allowed. Eating not so much.
Right. I can drink, but I can't eat the pizza. So.
Gotcha.
If you put your volume on mute, you'd be able to chew. It's okay.
Yeah, but you would see me, or whatever.
You can always go, excuse me for a minute. And go on.
Ugh.
Well, Bill Mathis, also known as Bill Mattis, I appreciate you, giving up an hour of the hardcore Diet Pepsi drinking.
Well, I had so much planned for this evening that it was tough to pull myself away. But, I'm a team player, Carl. You know that.
Absolutely. And for that, we're going to send you a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi. We'll make sure we get that delivered to your door within a day or two. As soon as Amazon gets back in, the non-essential business.
Yeah. Well, I think it's only appropriate that on April Fool's Day, I'm the guest.
Don't call the zoo.
And don't call the zoo looking for Mr. Fox.
Oh. I'm still on that joke. Shut up. Every April 1st.
That dad
Same
humor?
joke every year. See?
Every year.
Yep.
God.
Doesn't have to be April 1st, and I still hear it.
She's the queen of ridiculous jokes.
Well, thanks for having me on, and anytime you guys want me back, I'll be happy to come back.
Guys, it's been real. If everybody's got their all their information across, we'll pick a winner on the Matt Stairs jersey tomorrow and announce that.
One last thing. There was some.
Go ahead.
There were some requests for Bill. They want to know what your handle is on eBay, or how to get you online.
All Star Inc. is the name of our company, so that's the handle on eBay. Yeah, All Star Inc. ALLSTARINC.
All righty, there you go.
Very cool.
Carl, didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Cut me off anytime. I got no problem with that. But again, thanks to Bill and John and Mario, Lauren, myself. Everybody hang in there. Stay safe. Stay strong, and we'll all get through this together. And we'll see you back here again Friday night, 6:30.
You got it.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.
All righty.